Hi there, I'm Jessica Colucci and welcome back to the Lucan Center's YouTube channel. I'm a licensed professional counselor here at the Lucan Center and I work predominantly with child and adolescents, and we're going to be demoing a group. If you guys have been following us here on the YouTube channel, you've been seeing that we've been doing some videos on group, and we're going to be able to provide with you guys a demo of what a dialectical behavior therapy skills group might look like. So welcome you guys. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Yeah. So this is our first group, so I'm really excited to have you guys all here. Thanks for signing up and wanting to be a part of this. I know that group can be a little bit scary sometimes, and sometimes we don't know what to expect. So, I hope that we can kind of ease into this and make it as easy as possible for our first group. So I know you guys have all signed your informed consent, so you guys know what to expect today. And we've also gone over confidentiality, just wanting to make sure that whatever happens in this group stays in this group. We want to make sure that we're maintaining our peers' confidentiality so that everybody feels open to share today. Any questions about that? No? Awesome. All right. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is an icebreaker. So I know sometimes when we say icebreakers, we might get, yeah, exactly. Anything come up for anybody when I talk about saying icebreaker?
Getting to know me. I don't know. Feels like, a little nervous, but expected.
Okay. Anybody else?
Feels a little on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect.
Understandable.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's just, the fear of the unknown and not knowing what to say and what everyone else is going to say.
Yeah. Same thing.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the good thing about icebreakers is that you guys get to talk about yourselves. So anything that we're doing is really about yourself. So who knows everybody better than themselves? It would hopefully just be you. So that's the easy stuff, is because then you get to just bring up whatever it is for yourself. And the other thing that's really important in group is that we get to know each other. So we're going to be doing this group for about 12 weeks. So the importance of really getting to know each other, trust each other, feeling like you guys have a good rapport with one another, as additionally a rapport with me as your guiding therapist. It's important because you guys are going to be leaning on each other throughout this group. So it's important to do icebreakers to feel like you guys have some, understanding of each other and where we're kind of coming from. And we can make them fun. So a little bit of a fun icebreaker that I'm going to have you guys do is something called 2 truths and a lie. So 2 truths and a lie is an activity where I want you guys to kind of think of 2 truths about yourself and 1 lie about yourself. And the idea is that the lie that you come up with about yourself is going to be something that might still possibly be true. You kind of want to trick your group members into not really knowing what it might be that the lie is. And then we'll go around and we'll see who can guess what the lie is about each person. Does that sound good? Any questions?
Okay.
I think I got it.
Yeah. Do we all guess at once?
Yeah, you guys can just kind of jump in once somebody shares their 2 truths and a lie. If you guys feel like automatically, just go for it. Does that sound good? All right. Is there anybody who wants to be brave and start?
I can go.
Okay.
Let me think about this.
You also state your name when you start, so we don't know each other.
Sure. My name's Constantine. Hi, nice to meet you guys. I guess one thing would be I jumped out of an airplane. I've been to a meditation mindfulness retreat in Brazil. And I've met the president of Indonesia.
It's a good.
It's really cool.
I'm going to go jumped out of a plane.
Really? I was going to do the
As
president.
the false or as the
I
truth?
was going to do the
lie.
president.
As
Really?
the lie?
That's what I was
I was thinking the president.
I was thinking the president too.
Yes, that's true. I never jumped out of an airplane. I have met the president of Indonesia, and I've been to a retreat in Brazil.
Wow.
We're going to have to unpack the president
Yeah.
at some point in group. That's really cool.
Now I feel like
Awesome.
I need to think
I
of
was just-
cooler ones.
I follow that.
Well, thank you for sharing, Constantine.
You know what?
All right, who would like to follow up those really cool truths? I'm sure everybody's got.
I mean, I guess I could go.
Okay.
That works.
State
Okay,
your
so
name.
hi, I'm Steve. Nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.
I have been charged by an elephant. I have competed nationally in Olympic weightlifting, and I have gone base jumping before.
Going to guess that base jumping is false.
Wow, I guess no one's an extreme sports person.
I don't
here.
even know what that is.
Jumping out of an airplane, jumping off bridges.
I would say
I was gonna. Oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No,
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say the Olympic thing.
no. I was gonna go with the elephant.
Wow, you guys all chose something
The
different.
lie is the base jumping. Yeah.
Also, more to unpack there.
Yeah.
Very interesting
Not as cool as
stories.
the
It seems
president
like.
of Indonesia.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
And that charged by an elephant sounds pretty scary.
Was.
Yeah.
It was.
All right.
All right, who would like to
Me,
go?
you.
I can go next. I can make it substantially less cooler than those two. So I have two dogs. My name is Corinne. So nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you.
I have two dogs. I've driven to Canada, and I've written a book.
Canada.
You think that's the lie? Okay.
I'm going to go with you've never written a book.
Okay.
Two dogs.
Well, I've never written a book. that's my
Okay. All right, my turn.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm Melissa. Nice to meet you guys. All right, so I am scuba diver certified. I have lived in California, and I have a dog.
Scuba dive.
That's a lie.
Not lived in California.
I was going to say the stupid dive one too, as the lie.
I've not lived in California.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
cool.
That's cool.
Wow.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Awesome.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Do you go?
Oh, okay. Would you guys like me to? I can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Okay. I have a dog. My family owns a house in Italy, and I'm trying to think of another good one.
Sorry.
That's okay. And I have been to Africa.
You don't have a house in Italy.
You say you've never been to Africa.
I was gonna say you don't have a dog.
No, I would say you guys don't have a house in there.
We do have a house in Italy. I do have a dog. I've never been to Africa.
Okay.
You get charged by elephants there.
Yeah.
That's where you got charged by an elephant. Oh, well, that's good to know. Good thing I've avoided it. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. I hope that this helps in just kind of opening up. It seems like just even being able to, chat with each other and kind of makes it a little bit easier to get to know each other. And we'll be, continuing to get to know each other as we keep doing groups. And even just through the process of group, you guys are going to have to get a little bit deep. And I hope that you guys feel that that gets comfortable the more that we go to be a little bit more vulnerable. Because the more vulnerable you are, the more that I hope you guys get out of what this group process is going to look like for the next 12 weeks or so. All right. So I like starting group. I think that it's always important to kind of start with a mindfulness activity for yourselves. So you guys can expect this for the next 12 weeks, that we're going to be beginning each session with a mindfulness activity, and it might look a little bit different each week. So today, what I have for you guys is there's a box over there. So Constantine, if you want to pick that up for me, I'd love for you guys each to grab something out of that box for yourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to do this with you guys because I think it's important, even for myself, to start grounding myself before we hop into some, tougher stuff. So everybody has a little fidget object or, a little toy in front of them. And usually when we look at things, when we're either having them in our hand or we're looking around a room or something like that, we're usually just kind of paying attention to different types of detail. And when we're being mindful, what we're doing is we're really tapping into our 5 senses. And so that's what I want you guys to do with this toy that you have in your hands. So I'm going to go around. I'm going to give you all a second to kind of just observe what it is that you have in your hand. And then we're going to go around similarly to how we just did with our icebreaker activity. And I want you guys to describe what you have in your hand, not identifying it as what it is. So I don't want you to say that it's a toy or it's a ball. Rather, I want you guys to describe it as you would with any senses that you can use to describe it. So what it feels like, what it might smell like. If anybody wants to be adventurous and maybe say what it might taste like. You can think about it. You don't have to lick it. You know, anything, what it looks like. You guys can describe color and things like that. So I'll just give you guys a second to just kind of observe, feel, and then whoever wants to start, whenever you're ready, whoever wants to jump in, you can go ahead and do that.
I feel like I'm gonna make up some words here as like describing words. I mean, it sounds clicky. It feels segmented and smooth too. I bet you it smells pretty like sterile, I guess you could say. Maybe you cleaned these before, I don't know. All 5 senses?
If you want, yeah, if you can.
No, I think that
That's good.
thank you.
Okay, I'll go next. So mine has smooth but with some bumpy kind of textures. There's parts that feel more round. It clicks. So it makes sort of a click sound. Kind of smell. Well, I was going to say it smells like plastic, but that actually probably isn't what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
I don't really smell much of anything. And I guess that's it. I don't know how it would taste.
That's okay.
But yeah.
Looks like
That's
those
my-
candies with the dots in it. Maybe it tastes sweet.
Yeah. There are round balls on the inside, or round shapes on the inside.
There you go. Nice job.
Thanks.
So I'll just like go down the
Yeah,
couch. That's
you can
okay.
go
So
down
mine feels very small. And it's sort of like Melissa's, that it's smooth, but it's also rough and bumpy at the same time. I don't know if plastic's a smell, but it does definitely smell like plastic. It's very quiet, but it's also, because it has the chain on it, you can like faintly hear that sound. And I feel like this one's a little difficult because I feel like I would know what it would taste like based on the object it's supposed to be, but I don't know what does actually taste like. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You can imagine like what peas might taste like,
Right.
but that's not what that would taste like.
Right.
Yeah.
so to me, it would taste like plastic.
Yeah. Probably. Awesome. Thank you.
Mine is very similar to everyone else's in a way because it's smooth, but it has this cool ridge in the middle. Kind of feels a little rough. It's also, it has a lot of different colors. Blue is the biggest color here. I don't know. I know it feels good to the touch. That's all I could say.
Awesome. So I grabbed one too. I have a little thing here. And so actually one side is smooth where the other side is kind of textured and grainy. It's got a couple colors going on. There's like a gradient. And then there's also, similar to yours, it has like a line in the middle that feels a little like bumpy or rough. It's a little squishy, but still tough. Again, smells like plastic. Don't know what it would taste like. But yeah, pretty cool. So the purpose of this activity, like I said, is when we're doing mindfulness, I don't know if anybody noticed, and you guys can share if you want to, but when we're focusing on something, we're able to really look at something and try to think about it in a different way than how we are usually thinking about things. So mindfulness is usually a really good tool when we have anxiety, because anxiety takes us so outside of the moment. So working on mindfulness, it can bring us back into the moment and really focus on things, and it's a grounding exercise. So if you guys ever feel like you need to throughout, the time in between our sessions, we're going to be working on different mindfulness exercises. So feel free to grab exercises that work for you guys. If you're in school, if you're at work, whatever it might be for you, and you might be feeling anxious, even if you're at home, just taking a quick second to maybe pick something up, or just even observe, the room or the space around you and try to focus on those 5 senses. Usually it brings us back into the moment outside of that anxiety. It pulls us back in, and it's a really nice way to kind of refocus and reset. So I like to do this before we get started so that we're all kind of starting on the ground.
Yeah. Sure.
I like that you can sort of do that anywhere too, right? You don't need specific items or like a specific
Yeah.
environment. You can use it wherever you are, which is helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely noticed I wasn't really thinking about anything,
Mhm.
like about the day or that I was really just focused on this.
Yeah. Kind of put all your energy into the one thing as opposed to energy that we can spend so much outside of ourselves. It can feel really overwhelming.
I actually felt better even afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah. And it's so quick, right? That didn't really take us too long at all to just really spend a little bit of time. And even just being able to hear what other people had to share about, their objects that they were experiencing in their own way. We were also focused on what everybody was sharing. And then when it came time for yourself, being able to pull yourself back in and really take the time, I hope, like you guys said, it sounds like you were able to really focus and not think so much. And then when you come out of it, we might recognize, take that time for yourself to say, oh, how do I feel right now? Hopefully we feel a little bit of a difference, like you guys said. So awesome. So you guys can hang on to those if you want, or if you want to put them back in the box. It's totally up to you. I'm going to put mine back. What do you think? Is it distracting to have, or do you want to hang on to them?
I might hold it.
Hang? You guys got it. All right. Awesome. All right. So the next part that we're going to go into, so when we are working in dialectical behavior therapy, also known as DBT, we're working on different skills. So the skill that we're going to work on today is emotional regulation, because emotional regulation is something that I think everybody can use at different times, right? So we all have emotions. They're all inside of us, I hope, right? If we say that we don't have certain emotions, I'm usually skeptical of someone if they say they don't get angry. We all get angry. We all feel happy. We all feel these different emotions at different times. It's just a matter of what we do with those emotions. And a lot of times our emotions can feel really big or outside of us. So mindfulness is a great way to bring us back in. But we're going to also work on emotional regulation strategies that can also help us in those moments. If mindfulness, it's not always an option, we can always try and do something else to actually be a little bit more constructive in changing the way that our behavior comes across. So one way to do that is called opposite action to change emotions. So emotions come with specific action urges that push us to act in certain ways. So often we escape the pain of emotion, and we might do it in harmful ways because sometimes we develop these negative coping skills essentially. And that feels good to us because that's what we know and learn how to do. But we can rewire and we can change the way that we go about responding to our negative emotions. So they're common urges associated with a sample of emotions. So I'm going to just name some emotions we might experience and what the common urges might be. So for fear, we might escape or avoid. With anger, we might attack. With sadness, we might withdraw, become passive, or isolate. With shame, we might hide, avoid, withdraw, or save face by attacking others. With guilt, we might overpromise that you won't commit the offense again, but then you disclaim all responsibility, you hide, you lower your head, and you beg for forgiveness. With jealousy, we have verbal accusations, we attempt to control, and we act suspicious. And then with love, we might say, I love you. We might make an effort to spend time with the person, doing what the other person wants and needs, and giving affection. So it looks different for everybody. So those are some of the urges that are, associated with these specific emotions. So we want to sometimes work in the acting opposite. So we want to act the opposite to the action urge when the emotion is doing more harm than good. So when we have fear or anxiety, maybe we want to approach it as opposed to attacking it. And we can do this in an assertive way. So we can approach events, places, tasks, activities, people you're afraid of. We can confront in a positive way. There are ways to get our points across without screaming or yelling or having some type of negative reaction to it. And we want to do things to increase a sense of control and a mastery over this. So with, that was with fear and anxiety we approach. With anger, we want to gently avoid rather. So gently avoid the person you're angry with rather than attacking. Take a time out, breathe in, breathe out deeply and slowly, and then be kind rather than mean or attacking to the person who might be on the receiving end of our anger. With sadness, we might want to get active. We want to approach it, not avoid it, and build mastery and increase our pleasant activities. With shame, we want to face the music. So when your behavior violates your moral values or something shameful has been revealed about you and the shame fits the facts, we can either apologize and repair the harm when possible, We can try to avoid making some mistake in the future and accept our consequences, or we can forgive ourselves and let it go, which is really hard to do, but it's important that we try to do it. And then with guilt, we might feel we might want to have the opposite action of facing the music. So experience our guilt, sit with it. That can be really uncomfortable, but a lot of times we avoid it. So you ask, you don't beg for forgiveness, and then we accept the consequences, similarly to how we do with shame. And then you repair the transgression and work to prevent it from happening again. Is there any questions about those opposite actions or urges? I know it's a lot of information I just threw at you guys, so always feel free to jump in.
So is it kind of like if we want to like react to a certain emotion, but maybe it's not going to be a good outcome, that we should try and do the opposite?
Exactly.
Okay.
You nailed it. So I'm going to have you guys think a little bit about an emotion for yourself, and I'm going to go through with each of you. I want you to observe and describe a certain emotion, what your typical urge would be, and then I'll walk you through, and I want you guys to think about doing the opposite action entirely of what that might be for yourself with the scenario that you give. All right? Anybody want to go first?
I can go first, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. So
Yes.
observe and describe the emotion.
So I guess right now my overall emotion is overwhelmed, which I guess could be like a subset of fear in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a lot of things to do at home, at work, things like that, and I find myself feeling overwhelmed. And I think my initial response is to avoid
Mm-hmm.
because it's easier, but that provides temporary relief. But
Right.
in the long term, it doesn't. So I guess the opposite action would be to fully engage, or sort of set measurable goals and start a little bit at a time instead of completely avoiding the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to use the analogy, like if I was to put a full plate in front of you and ask you to eat everything in one bite, how does that feel?
Overwhelming.
Exactly. But if we can break it down and you say, okay, I can eat, 20 bites to get this piece of my meal done, and then keep moving on to the next thing, feels more manageable. We break things down to get ourselves to the end goal. It doesn't feel as overwhelming. So never bite off more than you can chew, essentially. But I always like to use the analogy.
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense.
That's a good one.
Anybody else?
I mean, I guess I could go. I mean, I'm not feeling this way right now, but I'm thinking of anger.
Mm-hmm.
That if there have been times maybe feeling angry because something someone did or something someone said that was like hurtful, maybe like having an urge to be mean or attack, like you said, say something, just kind of like not nice. And I'm thinking an opposite action could be to like pause and like not respond right away.
Mhm.
And maybe calm down and then like kind of like you said, like maybe respond more kindly and try to talk about it in more of like a calm way than like doing maybe more harm by attacking. So that's kind of what comes to mind when I think about this.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually we can take that step back. We can do a mindfulness exercise. Sometimes I like to suggest maybe we go and go take a walk if you can to the kitchen, fill up a cup, have a glass of water, and see how you feel afterwards before you respond. Giving yourself that break, like you were saying, to be able to kind of refocus a little bit before you respond and maybe attack, as opposed to having that constructive conversation.
Yeah, I think that would make me feel better about myself too.
Yeah, absolutely. Some things.
I guess I could go. But I guess the one that I'm thinking about that happened yesterday, it feels like there's two emotions at the same time that are similar from what you've read. I said something about a friend to a different friend, which now looking back wasn't very nice. And then the friend that I was talking about was texting me. So I was feeling, I guess, guilty and shameful about what I said. But then, I didn't respond to the text message, and I just went on YouTube. And then when I did respond, I was really more defensive and actually angry, telling him certain things. So it's kind of what I did. not really sure what I could do differently. Maybe, say something head on, like I apologized for I shouldn't have said something.
Yeah.
But I didn't do that this time.
Yeah. So looking back on it now, next time maybe you can confront it in a more beneficial way so that you're not walking away and feeling that guilt or that shame. And a lot of times in those situations, if we do speak negatively about somebody behind their back, we tend to overcompensate. So we might overcompensate on being like extra really nice, or we go on the defense too, because that guilt is kind of creeping in so much that then we go on the defense. So just being able to kind of find that middle ground, that middle road of where we can just confront it head on. Yeah. Now we know.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, she said to forgive yourself.
Yep. Thanks, Melissa.
I guess for me, kind of hearing Constantine and you talk about that emotion, jealousy kind of comes to mind for me. Lately, I've been noticing a lot of things go on between just like people in school and like what they've been able to achieve and where they're able to go. And my gut reaction is just to like put down kind of what they've done or their accomplishments. I'll find ways to sort of like poke holes in it. And it doesn't make me feel very good, but I suppose an opposite reaction could be kind of similarly, like maybe not overcompensate, but like try and, I guess, find the reasons why that's impressive and try and like maybe like speak it into existence in some way, just about how wonderful that is for them and how impressive that is in some way, and sort of, I guess, give them the acknowledgement in a way.
Yeah. So a lot of times when we feel jealous, we try to put other people down because it makes us feel better. But if you're actually just being happy for your friends or people that for the accomplishments that they're, working towards, you'll end up ultimately feeling better about yourself because then you're not hanging on to that jealous feeling at the same time of possibly guilt and all the other emotions that might come up. And then you're genuinely happy for your friends as well as usually for yourself.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys for sharing. I know that this can be really difficult and you guys were all very vulnerable, like I asked, and thanks for, jumping in, Melissa, being able to, give feedback to your peers. It's important about group. That's the beauty of group, is that we do get to give feedback to others in the group. It's not just me facilitating and giving the feedback. And so I hope over the next 12 weeks, you guys continue to feel more comfortable to kind of jump in and lead a little bit, and give that feedback to each other and, really rely on each other to kind of work through and problem solve a little bit as we do more of these exercises. So I know that was kind of heavy and it was a great start. So I'm going to give you guys all a break. And when we come back, we're going to do some process. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, if you like what you just saw, please feel free to check out our videos in our library and also hit the subscribe button so you can check out our future videos.